Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Vibration, where we empower individuals to speak their distinct truths, passions, and personal message on a global online stage. I'm your host, Michelle McDonald, also known as Authentically Michelle, passionate foodie, author, and entrepreneur. And this evening, we are continuing with our theme, striving to improve food security and sustainability in the Bahamas, with tonight's topic of changing the agricultural mindset through innovation. Our guests this evening are Dr. Selima Hauber, who received bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees in horticulture from universities in the southeast of the USA. Her graduate research studies included plant secondary metabolite physiology and plant micropropagation. Amidst studying, she worked in the ornamental plant industry and botanic gardens in Florida and in molecular breeding of agronomic crops at the University of Georgia. In the Bahamas, Dr. Halber was employed at a privately owned hydroponic greenhouse producing vegetables for domestic sales. While there, she established the country's first plant micropropagation laboratory, which engaged in propagating native plants for habitat restoration and tropical fruit propagules for commercial production. For more than a decade, Dr. Halber operated her own mixed vegetable organic farm, which pioneered the use of regenerative production methods in the Bahamas. She is currently the Agricultural Education and Outreach Officer at the One Eleuthera Foundation's Center for Training and Innovation, also known as CTI. OEF is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to empower the island's communities, aiding in transforming them into thriving, self sufficient ecosystems. There, she operates the teaching farm and develops programs at the intersection of food production and health to inspire healthy dietary behavioral change to mitigate the epidemic of non communicable diseases. Our second guest is Tim Halber, who grew up in Ontario, Canada, and obtained a Bachelor's of Science degree in food science from the University of Guelph. After working in the field of sensory science in Canada for 5 years, Tim moved to Nassau, Bahamas to manage the Adventure Learning Center, an outdoor educational center for Bahamian school children. Tim spent almost 20 years in Nassau, operating several farms, including Goodfellow Farms, Lucayan Tropical Produce, and Field to Fork Community Farm. These farms span the spectrum from low-tech organic vegetable production techniques to high-tech hydroponic vegetable production in state-of-the-art greenhouses. Tim is currently employed at the Center for Training and Innovation in Roxtown, Eleuthera, as the Farm Production Officer. His focus at CTI is to improve access to fresh vegetables from Eleuthera and to provide educational experiences for local farmers and backyard gardeners. CTI is launching their Cravo Cooling House, the first in the Bahamas, during the summer of 2022, with the goal of growing vegetables all year round, using organic soil techniques as well as hydroponic farming techniques. Tim is married to Dr. Selima Campbell Hauber, has 3 children, and is happily living in Savannah Sound, Eleuthera. Dr. Halber and Tim, welcome to the stage tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. I absolutely love highlighting the efforts that are going on throughout the Bahamas because there is so much that is being done to ensure that our food security and sustainability is being expanded. We thank you for joining us. And I also want to say thank you for everything that you are doing in agriculture and to fuel the Bahamas' green economy. Tell us more about the inspirations behind your passion for agriculture and working in the industry.
So I'll go first.
Perfect.
I was first inspired over 30 years ago, as just before graduation from high school. when I learned how much money we spent as a nation importing food. So that really inspired me to go into the field, study agriculture as a means of helping our country to move towards food security. But of late, because of the status of our national health and the epidemic of non-communicable diseases that we are experiencing, I am my passion has been even further ignited to continue to grow food for allowing increased access to fresh, whole plant foods. We'll talk about more of that later, but that's what brought me to agriculture and is keeping me here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so my journey, as you mentioned, started in Ontario, Canada. I grew up in a rural part of Canada where I was surrounded by farms. So it was just part of my growing up was being exposed to farms. I had various jobs as a kid, picking fruit and doing different jobs around farms. So before I even was finished high school, I'd already been working in the food industry. I was part of a family that loved and appreciated good food. And so we would go to farms and pick strawberries to make jam for the rest of the year. We'd go to a farm and pick grapes to make grape juice for the rest of the year. And so I was just exposed to that from the get-go. And then when I was looking at what to study in university, I knew I liked science. So I was going along the route of studying science. And somebody exposed me to food science, and I'm like, oh, that's perfect, because I could study science, which I was interested in and came fairly easy to me, and yet apply it to something so tangible and something so practical as food. So for me, it was um, a great program, and so I studied food science, and the rest is history. I'm now farming. But to be honest, the studying food science versus farming, it's a lot of the same science. There's a lot of the same subjects, and so I didn't really study farming. I studied food science, but now I'm doing farming as well as food science stuff.
Okay, great. I actually really like that the background for each of you focuses on whole, fresh foods, getting it from the source, using it all year round. And so we can really see how your experience is coming together to create these types of programs for CTI and exposing Bahamians to a level of that we haven't quite known from the ground up. So with CTI, they understand the plausible link between education, unemployment, poverty, and crime, which is extremely noteworthy. Highlighting valid statistics such as graduation, which has been 46% in 2019 with a diploma, and unemployment, which was noted at 25.6% in 2020. They use the organization as a platform for hope and change. With this in mind, I admire that they care and the concern that CCI offers when it comes to agricultural education, working one-on-one with individuals and exposing them to modern technology in farming. Can you provide us insight into your roles at CTI and if you have noticed a change in the students since working with them?
At CTI, I am the crop production officer and agricultural education outreach officer as well. And my role there is to plan the production season with the selection of crops, plan their scheduling, when do we seed, when do we harvest, some of the marketing of it, and just executing that general plan. And that, to me, that is so much fun. It's intensive when you're in the season, but it's quite a rewarding work. Equally as rewarding is being a mentor. I have 3 young men working with me and 1 young woman who's a BAMSI student as an intern there. And I really enjoy sharing all that we've learned over the years about sustainable agricultural production and regenerative practices, and just imparting it with them, and also sharing the value of fresh food to our health. So being a mentor is equally as important and enjoyable to me. And I can tell a difference as they become more engaged with what they're doing, the more I share about why we're doing what we're doing.
Awesome. Tim?
Yeah, great. So to be clear, we haven't been with the organization too long. We only joined just about a year ago, so we haven't had a lot of students through yet. I've been focusing on building this new innovative structure that's going to allow us to grow crops through the summer, and so a lot of my energy of late has been going into that. But that being said, the one thing that I've observed when working with the different interns and staff is when you're teaching something that they, first of all, is something that they can relate to. This is not just theory from a textbook. We're running a farm, and when I can come in and bring a technique to them that all of a sudden they realize this is saving me time, or this is making my job easier, or this is something that I could do potentially, on my own to start to meet some sort of a business need, then you see light bulbs start going off. That's super motivating. And so that's what's such a big deal about the whole CTI organization, is that it's a functioning organization. It's a functioning business. We have a hotel that's running as a hotel, and we have interns working and training in the hotel. We have a farm that's functioning as a farm. And so we're not a classroom, we're a living classroom where you come and you can see a real need and then learn different techniques to meet that need. And that, to me, is true innovation as far as the learning process.
Yes, a lot of what I'm getting from what both of you have said is impact. The fact that you are bringing practical, real, in-time practices that can be used, things that people can relate to. And Dr. Halber, you being a mentor to those young men and the young women who's able to look up to you for everything that you are presenting to them and can take that and create something else out of it. It really shows the impact that education can bring, and those who bring their experience to the table and just changing it up. That is really, really good. I love hearing that. And also the integration of traditional Eleutherian heritages and Bahamian culture into the programs. We don't hear a lot of that. And it's owed to the roots of the Bahamas. Dr. Halber, how is this incorporated in the agricultural studies at CTI?
So heritage is one of the 5 pillars that we focus on at One Eleuthera, as is health and wellness. And where these two intersect, there's a perfect and a beautiful opportunity to create programs that can affect change in our lives and improve our well-being. When we consider our ancestral heritage, our ancestral diets, much of the non-communicable diseases that we are suffering from today did not even exist in those populations. So what we look forward to doing in the immediate future is bringing some of those crops that great Grammy and great Grammy grew, and they're still being grown to a certain extent today. We're talking about Benny, and sweet potatoes are still pretty popular, cassava, but many of these crops that our ancestors grew and ate and that caused them to thrive in a healthful way, we are eating less and less of. And our diet has become quite westernized and following the standard American diet, which the acronym is appropriately SAD. And that's causing a lot of our illnesses. So as we delve into our heritage and look and celebrate how we ate and use those principles of eating to help train our interns and anyone who comes and visits the farm, and we show them this is how cassava is grown, this is how sweet potato is grown, This is how Benny is grown, and here are the health benefits that eating these whole foods provide to us.
And here's how to cook it, and here's how to use it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really like that you named those particular produce because those are things that I grew up with. My dad cooked them, his mother cooked them. So as you stated, we've heard about these things. We've known about these things in our childhood, and, we listened to our parents and we ate them, but we didn't realize the value of what we were getting. And more importantly, what we are missing as we got older. And, the younger kids, they don't know anything about it. And as you stated, having a healthy relationship with food, meaning that you're eating good, natural, whole foods, understanding where they're coming from, it really makes a difference in your overall quality of life. And that seems to be something that we don't necessarily talk about. But a lot of what you guys are infusing through the heritage aspect of CTI and the 5 pillars is really bringing that to light.
And what I'd like to add to that is, what should be celebrated above all is that some of these crops were domesticated by our ancestors. When we think of okra, ackee, lima beans, tamarind, sorrel, these are crops that if it weren't for our ancestors selecting them and choosing to grow them and taking them with them as they were forcibly moved across the Atlantic, we would not have these crops today. So not only should we celebrate them because of the health benefits that they provide to us, but because they were domesticated by our forefathers.
Yes. And so it connects with our culture and it connects with our history through our food. And so therefore, knowing and understanding how to plant them and being able to pass that on, that's a tradition.
Exactly.
It's a tradition through food, and we are keeping our culture alive. That is awesome. I've never looked at it this way, but I appreciate that. Thank you. CTI is multifaceted. It not only highlights agriculture as a skill, but also as a way of life, as you guys have stated, and an entrepreneurship. It embodies the phrase, knowledge is power. Tim, why was it important to showcase this angle when it comes to the agricultural aspect of the green economy?
Well, we've been talking a lot about agriculture for quite a few years, and basically agriculture is kind of stuck right now in the Bahamas, and we have to get it unstuck. We have to figure out how to grow our own food for many different reasons that we've already talked about: health, for national security. There's a bunch of reasons that we need to do it, and those reasons can sound quite heady, quite theoretical, of like, we shouldn't be dependent on foreign food, or different things like that are all valid. They all make sense. But at the end of the day, they're not particularly inspiring to a young person who is looking at what to do next after high school or college. And that's where the whole entrepreneurship model fits in, where we're saying we're really quite careful about this, and we've designed the whole farm to show that it is actually functioning as a profitable farm, a profitable entity. This is a farm that's doing commerce, not just growing food, and because we need to teach that throughout the whole program. We need students to come and be empowered to take a model that's going to actually make money and not just fizzle away after a few years because that trend has ended somehow. And so we're very conscious of that, and we want to produce models. We want to teach techniques that translate to income, to profitable businesses. And at the end of the day, there are so many benefits to growing our own food. For our bodies, for our economy, and for the earth, for our ecosystem, that the models that we're showing, the models that we're using, are all really low impact as far as the ecology. And so the more people we can get to use these type of techniques, these organic techniques, these regenerative agriculture techniques, the better state our country will be in for our children and our children's children.
Yes, and thank you for that because, as you stated, it takes the aspect of agriculture and pushes it outside of the box. So it's not just that I am connecting with Mother Earth and creating my own food and being able to provide a sense of food security for myself and for my family and my loved ones, but I can create this into a business and I don't have to start from scratch. CTI is providing me with a set of life skills, business skills, things that I can take with me and create into something beautiful that can also provide a source of income. And so that just really steps it up for them. Do you know what I mean? It just takes it outside of just being a course. And as you stated, there's been a creation of a type of ecosystem, the hotel, the farm, understanding how this really works. You know, when I get out here and into the wider world and I want to use the skills that I have, I've already had that practice because CTI has considered that with the person that they have here, providing these levels of study, such as yourself. And that is phenomenal. I absolutely must say. And also, congratulations on the work that both of you are doing with the CTI farm. Dr. Halber, tell us more about the upcoming aspects, such as the Cravo Cooling House and Tea Room, which has a plant-forward aspect.
The retractable roof cooling house, which we are renaming our Oasis Grow House,
Nice.
is an innovation that we've had our eyes on, Tim and me, for a number of years. Traditionally, agriculture here in the Bahamas is done on a large scale, producing significant volumes of food during our cooler months. So from November to end of May. But we eat year round. We don't eat in those months only. So the problem there is because we are so closely to the equator during the summer months, the sunlight intensity is so high, it brings a lot of heat with that. In addition to the high light intensity and heat are the frequent rains that we experience. It rains daily and the rains are torrential, and all of these climatic factors cause a lot of stress on plants. So for that reason, many of the crops that we traditionally grow during the winter do not fare well during the summer. During the summer, we shift production to more tropical heat tolerant crops like the sweet potatoes, cassavas, okra, watermelons. But that decreases, that the variety in nutrition decreases significantly. So in order to be able to provide a wide variety of nutrients year round, we have to be able to grow the crops in conditions that are more favorable by shading some of the crops, by shading the crop for part of the day in the summer, which is what the retractable roof cooling house does. It will allow us to grow some of the more sensitive crops during the warmer parts of the year. So that is that stands to revolutionize Bahamian agriculture. If we could produce the variety that we are producing in the winter year round, that's a big game changer.
Absolutely.
Now, the tea room stems into our pillar for health and wellness. As I said earlier, as a nation, we are suffering from an epidemic of non-communicable diseases, and it's irrefutable the amount of scientific studies now that show that many, if not all of these non-communicable diseases can not only be prevented, but can be cured, treated, reversed by adopting a diet of whole food and whole plant-based foods. So the tea room now, the focus of the tea room will be kind of like a teaching kitchen, a teaching dining hall, and in a site of inspiration, because I think many of us want to eat well and live well and thrive, but how many of us know how to create a delicious meal where the animal protein is not the center of the plate? You know, when you talk about, oh, what are you cooking today? Oh, what's the first thing you're going to name? You're going to name the animal protein. So
Mhm.
we as a nation, as a species, need to decrease the amount of animal proteins we're consuming, because as I said, there's thousands of studies that show that diets that are largely based of whole plant foods lend to health and can prevent many of these diseases we're experiencing. So I'm really excited about the tea room reopening with a plant forward focus. There will be some animal protein, but they certainly won't be the star. And another focus of the tea room is to feature all of the product that we are growing at the CTI farm, and also produce from local farmers. So not only will it have a health focus, to inspire you to eat deliciously and eat in a way that promotes health and wellness, but it will also showcase the wonderful produce and work that our Bahamian farmers are doing, um, following a farm to table concept.
Yes, I love that. Everything that you have said, Dr. Halber, as you stated, we need a perspective change when it comes to the food that we have. As you stated, I mean, especially on Sundays, we know how it is. What are you cooking for dinner? Bahamians love two meats and lots of carbs. That's just how
Yeah,
it is.
yeah,
There's little bits of vegetables here and there, but we're not necessarily thinking about how is this going to impact my body. Is there a chance that the diseases that I'm experiencing or that are known throughout my family, how these can be decreased or prevented if I change the way that I view my food? But how do I do that? Where do I start? And so I really love that the tea room is focusing on that. It's also providing a way for the food that the farmers are creating to be placed on the table so that we can say to ourselves, well, wow, if they can create these amazing dishes, I can do something for myself.
exactly.
I can understand how to eat vegetables in a way that it looks good and it tastes good because we eat with our eyes.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I can continue to eat this way and take care of my body, self care, health, and wellness. This is amazing. I honestly can't wait to see this come out. I'm just as excited as you, but you're probably even more so, because of just the impact that it's going to have, and just us being able to see our people creating these things that we probably only had in our mind. And now we can see it in front of us on our family islands. We can appreciate that. And we are creating a different aspect of culture and history that we can grow into and be innovative as CTI is doing. So thank you. And I truly look forward to the updates on that. That's going to be a hit. I can just tell already.
absolutely.
Nice.
And so, of course, this goes without saying, you all are changing lives and the way that others view food as sustainable and whole through everything that you are doing. Dr. Hauber, how does it feel knowing that you are empowering individuals to create their own form of food security and their relationship with food? How does this connect with your involvement with the Food for Thought 242 movement?
You know, this part of my job is definitely one of the most rewarding parts. That I mean, I really, really enjoy teaching and inspiring people to grow their own food. And I really believe agriculture over the last century has moved from a family farm model to an industrial, corporate run, global production model. And when that happened, I think that was the beginning of the deterioration of our health as consumers and the deterioration of the planet. If by empowering more people and inspiring more young people to come into this industry and to learn a regenerative, sustainable practices, I think that is the way we should go to address food security on a global basis. We need to bring back the small family farm. I was always, even though I did it myself and we wrote the plan, I was always just amazed at how much food our family farm Field to Fork produce on 2 acres.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine if there were 100 Field to Forks or 1,000 small farms like that. We could provide a tremendous amount of nutrition, to sustain us. So I think, uh, this is where I think what we're doing, lends in with the Food 242 movement.
Yes.
We need to convince it does not have to be a grand 10-acre, 20-acre farm. A 2-acre, 3-acre farm run by, 4 to 5 to maybe 10 people at tops is sufficient to provide a tremendous amount of nutrition for the immediate surrounding community. And if we could replicate that throughout the country, I think we will be well on our way to being able to feed ourselves.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I remember Field to Fork, community farm, and you had done so well with that, really changing the perspective on so many things. And so everything that you said just now, it it speaks truth. You know, that there is a vision. We can be better than where we are, and it's not impossible. There is hope, and through what both of you are delivering at CTI, we can see that it's possible. Not only are you all doing it, but they can take the education that they receive and create it here in the Bahamas, and we can just see it growing and thriving, and it just changes everything. And so all of these small steps, all of the innovation that you guys are implementing is really making a difference. And I see here we have a comment. Mrs. Pamela Burnside says, simple common sense solution. Thank you, Halbers.
Nice.
Yes, so that is great. Tim and Dr. Selima Hauber, thank you for providing us with a view on your phenomenal work in Rocktown, Eleuthera, the impact that you are making throughout the community through education and opportunities. We thank you for your contribution and for creating an environment that encourages positive food relationships and food security. To connect with Tim and Dr. Halber at CTI regarding agricultural training and education programs, you can call 242-357-9665 or via email at timhalber@oneeleuthera.org. Our episode tonight is sponsored by local skincare brand Amber L, who encourages you to nourish your everyday skin glow. A special thank you to our audience this evening for watching, and our special guests hailing from the beautiful island of Eleuthera. If you're just tuning in or missed the first half, you can watch